Welcome to Baseball Mondays.
Hello and welcome to Baseball Mondays. My name is Nick. Thank you so much for joining me. If you recognize my voice or my face, that's probably because I'm the host of Talking Blue, a podcast about the Los Angeles Dodgers that I started about a year ago. And here we are in 2026. I have started my own podcast talking about all things baseball, all of Major League Baseball, all 30 teams, everything. Like I said, Baseball Mondays, it is a weekly podcast I will be doing, recapping everything that happened in baseball the prior week. And I couldn't be more excited to do this. I really appreciate everyone that's tuning in and that everyone that's helped me put this all together. We'll talk about the games. We'll talk about the players, all the hot topics, everything that's going on. A little bit about myself. My name is Nick. Like I said, I am the host of Talking Blue, a Dodgers podcast that I've done the last year. I am a lifelong Dodger fan, but I also am a lifelong baseball fan. I've watched and played baseball for many years, watched baseball my whole life. I know a ton about the history of the game, the current state of the game, all that stuff, and I'm very well versed when it comes to analytics and a lot of the numbers, and I really am one of the best baseball people that are out there, I believe, and I feel like I'm the perfect person to have a baseball podcast. This will be the perfect show for you. If you love baseball, if you love talking about numbers, listening to players, getting updates, learning about all things baseball, all things baseball players, and all that kind of stuff, this is the perfect place for you. So I know this is a little bit of an awkward beginning, but it's the first podcast. So, of course, today is Monday, March 23rd. Opening day, technically opening night, is just 2 days away. Wednesday, the San Francisco Giants will be taking on the New York Yankees. And then opening day for all of Major League Baseball will be the following day on Thursday. Being that it is the first podcast, first episode of Baseball Mondays, what we're going to do today, as you could tell by the title of video, is all predictions. All right, so we're going to talk about Rookie of the Year, Cy Young, MVP awards. We're going to talk about the standings. I'm going to give you playoff predictions, power rankings, everything you need to know leading up to opening day, all of my thoughts and all that. So before we do that stuff, you can get this podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. You can also watch on YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Baseball Mondays Podcast. Okay, you can follow us on all social media at Baseball Mondays, on X, on Instagram, on TikTok. All right, we're gonna get a ton of social media stuff going. What I'll start off first is my awards. So I'm gonna go Rookie of the Years in both leagues, Cy Youngs, and then MVPs. I'm going to give you 3 finalists because, of course, the final awards, there are 3 finalists. I'm going to talk about each guy. I'm going to try to do this relatively quick. I don't want to take too much time because we do have a ton of stuff to get to. So let's start off with the American League Rookie of the Year. I got 3 finalists. In third place, I'm going to go with Chase DeLauter, outfielder, I believe projected center fielder of the Cleveland Guardians this year. Chase DeLauter actually made his big league debut in 2025 in the postseason, which is extremely unique. You almost never see that. He had been a top prospect for a couple years now, but has been dealing with a ton of injuries. Big left-handed hitting outfielder, can play the corners. I believe he is projected to be the opening day center fielder for the Guardians. In 138 career minor league games, he has an .888 OPS, so he can handle the bat. He is supposed to be a very good defensive outfielder. I like him as kind of a sleeper pick. Not as you probably won't hear his name as much as a couple other guys in terms of Rookie of the Year projections. But what I like about him is that he's going to get a start and a chance to play from the beginning of the year to tally up some numbers. You know, he's going to have a head start with some other guys that will be called up. So I have Chase DeLauter in third place. We'll go to second place. In my second place AL Rookie of the Year, Carter Jensen, catcher for the Kansas City Royals. Of course, Salvador Perez, the longtime catcher for the Royals. He's getting a little older, and he has seen more time at DH last few years. Carter Jensen, one of the top prospects in the game and in the Royals system. Another guy that should start the year in the big leagues. so he's going to get a lot of playing time. Again, he won't necessarily play a ton of games, one, considering that he's a catcher, but also because they have Salvador Perez to switch off. But all the reports about Carter Jensen in the minor leagues, he has great plate discipline, can handle the bat, great defensive catcher, is again a real sleeper pick for the Rookie of the Year. As you could tell by these couple picks, I'm trying to stay away from the obvious picks. My two picks to actually win the award are definitely two guys that are going to be favorited, but I like to pick some sleeper picks. I don't like to necessarily just pick the slam dunk guys, guys that maybe have an outside chance to win it. So Carter Jensen of the Royals, only 22 years old, left-handed hitting catcher. I think he is going to be a very big catcher at the really good catcher at the big league level. Has a lot of excitement and can really help the Royals. We'll get into that later into my predictions when it comes to the standings and power rankings and all that. We'll get into that, but I think he has a good chance to help them make a playoff push. And then my finalist, the guy who I think is going to win the award in the American League, Kevin McGonigal. Shortstop, infield prospect, I believe is number one prospect in the game right now, or actually is number two behind Connor Griffin. Shortstop for the Tigers is supposed to, or I should say is likely to make the opening day roster for the Tigers. So again, that is something that I like. He'll be there from the start. Gives me a lot of Dustin Pedroia, Jose Altuve vibes. Not a big guy. I believe he's only 5'8", 5'9". He is not a... Sorry, I got a fly flying around my face. He is not a very big guy, but again, in 183 career minor league games, a 308 batting average, a 410 on base, 512 slug, a 922 OPS. So a guy that can really handle the bat and is supposed to be a very great defensive infielder. Could play some second base, could play some shortstop, maybe long-term projects as a second baseman. But right now, with Gleyber Torres, with Colt Keith, with Zach McKinstry, a couple infielders on the Tigers, he looks like he's going to be the everyday shortstop. Javier Baez as well. And a lot, again, only 20 years old. A lot of projections really like him, and he is supposed to be a very good player. Probably going to be penciled in as the leadoff hitter, so there are some high expectations with him. And again, I'll get into the Tigers in a little bit with my predictions and rankings. So I got Kevin McGonigal winning the award, American League Rookie of the Year. We'll go to the NL Rookie of the Year. In third place, I got another shortstop, but a guy who's projected to play some second base for the St. Louis Cardinals, J.J. Weatherholt. Again, another top 10 prospect. Another shortstop. There's a ton of shortstops nowadays as top prospects. 23 years old, was drafted a couple years ago in the first round. And again, another guy who's going to start the year on opening day in the big leagues, I believe. So that is a good thing. 905 career OPS in the minor leagues. Again, another guy who can play really good defense, second base, third base, shortstop. Looks like he's going to be the second baseman with Mason Wynn at shortstop. Again, might even be penciled in as a leadoff hitter, and he's going to get a lot of run and a lot of at-bats on a Cardinals team that's not projected to be very well and be a really good team. Second place, the guy who's probably the favorite, not based on how good he projects to be, but based on the fact that he's a pitcher and that he'll be in the rotation to start the year, a little bit older, a little bit of a seasoned, more veteran top prospect, Nolan McLean, who made his debut last year with the Mets. Again, I don't know if he's the favorite to win the National League Rookie of the Year, but he's got to be up there. 24 years old, so he's not necessarily a super young guy like some of these other guys. But last year in 48 innings pitched at the big league level, a 2.06 ERA, 57 strikeouts, opponent average of 200. So McLean, he kind of gives me Corey Kluber vibes. Sinker ball pitcher that can also use the four-seamer. Electric, nasty breaking balls. By all accounts, has pretty much the best curveball / sweeper. He throws both of those pitches, but curveball, sweeper, those pitches break a ton, a lot of spin rate. The curveball breaks like almost 2 feet. He can throw strikes. He can get ground balls. Also strikeouts. My only fear is that he's a little overhyped because he was so nasty to start his big league career last year, and he kind of has a lot on his shoulders. I do think Freddie Peralta being traded to the Mets does help him, that he doesn't necessarily have to be the ace right away in his rookie season. But a guy who's clearly going to be a pretty good pitcher and going to get a lot of innings to work with to make a name for himself. So I have him in second place. And then winning the award, another shortstop, the number one prospect in the game. Like I said, Kevin McGonigal is actually the second prospect. Connor Griffin, shortstop of the Pirates, only 19 years old, and a guy who really the last year has just shot up the prospect rankings. A big guy who's very physical, a good swing, a lot of pop. Also a super athletic guy who's played a couple different positions in the minor league, at the minor league level, but is projected to be a shortstop, and a guy who, even though he's played multiple positions, can really handle the shortstop position. In 122 minor league career games, he has a 942 OPS, and he had showed off some good things in spring training. I do think he had some swing and miss concerns, but he did show off the pop. Very athletic guy who can steal bases, play great defense, and he can hit. A guy who's projected to be a superstar. It did come out the other day that I don't think he's projected to start on opening day for the Pirates. So he's probably going to start in AAA, which is okay. Hopefully he can get the call pretty soon. Maybe 3 weeks into the year or whatever. Sometimes that happens with top prospects. So we'll see. But to wrap up with the Rookie of the Year, I got Kevin McGonigal of the shortstops, of the Tigers, and then Connor Griffin of the Pirates. Those are my 2 Rookie of the Year finalists. We'll go ahead to the American League Cy Young. In third place, a guy that I am very high on and I think is going to have not necessarily a breakout because he's already been a good pitcher, but his true breakout, maybe he'll be looked at as a top 10 pitcher after this year. Logan Gilbert of the Seattle Mariners. Seattle is a team that has had a ton of really good young pitching the last few years, and it's actually, a couple of those guys have kind of taken their turn as who's the ace. A couple of years ago it was Luis Castillo, Logan Gilbert for a year. Last year, Brian Wu. There's even been a couple other guys. I think Logan Gilbert is going to take that mantle as the true ace of the Mariners, the number one guy, and I think he's going to finish third in the Cy Young. Logan Gilbert, one of the taller pitchers in the game with incredible extension, and he's got really good stuff. He has the number one splitter in Major League Baseball, which is the 5th best swing and miss pitch in the game. So out of every pitch that every pitcher throws in all of baseball, his pitch gets the 5th most or 5th highest percentage of swing and misses. So that splitter is really, really nasty. And another reason why I think he's going to continue to get better and have this true breakout. Every year at the big league level since 2023, he's had an increase in strikeout percentage. He was not a huge strikeout guy, but as his career's gone on, the stuff has improved, the splitter's gotten better, the off-speed pitches, and the K percentage has gone up. I think all of those guys are going to, all those things are going to continue this year, and he's going to have a true breakout year. The next guy I have, not much of a surprise, Tarek Skubal. It's very hard to pick against a couple guys in these awards. Tarek Skubal, I have him finishing second, so he's not going to finish the Cy Young Award as the winner. He's not going to get the three-peat in this scenario. I think he's got a great chance, of course. He's the best pitcher in the game, I believe, with Paul Skeens right behind him. Obviously, he's going for the three-peat. He's got a million things that make him great. He throws incredibly hard, has incredible command. His changeup, in terms of run value, was the number one pitch in baseball last year. So he's got an elite changeup to go along with the great stuff and the great velocity. So, it's pretty easy and not much to say with Tarek Skubal. He's the best pitcher in the game. Contract year. He's going to be trying to do everything in his power to get that big contract going into his free agent year. And the guy that I have winning the award, Garrett Crochet of the Boston Red Sox, who I believe is the 3rd best pitcher in the game, and if it wasn't for Skubal, he'd be the best left-handed pitcher in the game. A guy that I am super high on, a very fun pitcher to watch. Flamethrower relief pitcher turned into multi-weapon starter, and what I mean by that is Crochet. A really funny or just really interesting development at the big league level. A guy who came out of, I believe it was Tennessee, throwing 101, 102, drafted in 2020 and made his debut that same season. So he got rushed to the big league level, threw super hard as a reliever, eventually got Tommy John, transitioned to a starter in the last 2 years, one with the White Sox, and then his last year with the Red Sox after getting traded, of course. He's really gone, like I said, from a flamethrower relief pitcher to a multi-weapon starter. A guy that can throw fastball, sinker, cutter. His sweeper, One of the best pitches in the game. Number one sweeper in all of Major League Baseball last year with a 126 batting average against. And he was second in Major League Baseball in innings pitched. So again, a guy who was a flamethrower relief pitcher has turned into a workhorse with multiple elite pitches, great command. I believe he's definitely going to get a Cy Young at some point in his career. He's still very young, which does also help. He's younger than Tarek Skubal. He's younger than a lot of the better pitchers in the game, like Zach Wheeler. I believe he's younger than Christopher Sanchez, a lot of those guys. So he's very young. So he's only going to get better, and he's the ace of the Boston Red Sox. That is who I have winning the AL Cy Young. We'll go to the NL. In third place, another guy that I think is going to have a little bit of a breakout, Jesus Luzardo. So I have not Christopher Sanchez and not Zach Wheeler finishing in the top three for the Cy Young of the Philadelphia Phillies. I have Jesus Luzardo, a very underrated left-handed pitcher who had a little bit of a breakout last year, struggled a little bit at times, so he didn't have the full, well-rounded elite numbers. But Jesus Luzardo, as a left-handed pitcher, has some of the best stuff in the game. Top 10 K percentage, so he strikes out hitters at a top 10 rate. Another guy with an elite sweeper, 178 batting average against, 43.7% whiff rate. And if he can just improve his four-seam fastball, that will unlock him. He's got a good changeup. He's got the ability to also sink it, good sinker. And like I said, the elite sweeper is kind of what took him to another level last year. If he can unlock the four-seam fastball, I think he will continue to increase. And again, another guy that could be looked at as a top 10 pitcher. He could take that next level, even in a rotation that has a lot of good names around it. Jesus Luzardo, I think he's going to improve this year. We'll go to the second guy, my personal favorite pitcher in Major League Baseball. Again, like I said, if you don't know anything about me, I am a Dodgers fan. You can see the light right there. Hey, Yoshinobu Yamamoto. That's who I have finishing in second place. If it wasn't for the guy ahead of him, I think he would be the favorite, and I think he would get it this year. Number one batting average against in all of Major League Baseball last year. So the hardest pitcher to get a hit against. Only pitcher in baseball last year with a 29% K rate and a 50% ground ball rate. Okay, that is a very rare, unique combination of getting an elite amount of ground balls while also getting an elite amount of strikeouts. There are a lot of pitchers in Major League Baseball who are elite, like Logan Webb, Christopher Sanchez. Those guys get elite amount of ground balls, but they don't necessarily have the elite strikeout whiff numbers that other guys have, you know, of the Tarek Skubal, Paul Skeens. Yamamoto is the best in the game at combining strikeouts and ground balls. I think that he even has some numbers with his walk rates that will improve this year that show that he could actually get better. The only pause I have about him winning the award is the Dodgers will be a little bit more careful with his innings as opposed to the next guy that I think is going to win the award and really has to pitch as you know, without restraints to get his team into the playoffs. That is the reigning Cy Young Award winner in the National League, Paul Skeens. The fact that he already has a Cy Young to his name, and the fact that he'll be 24 years old in I think May or June, I think he's going to pass up Skubal in 2026 and be looked at as the best pitcher in the game. You really could look at both of those guys as 1A, 1B, but Skubal being a little bit older and just having slightly better numbers and being a little bit more dominant. But you already know what makes Paul Skeens elite. He's got 5 legitimate nasty pitchers, the splinter, the sweeper. He can throw a four-seamer and a sinker, changeup as well. He throws strikes. He pounds the strike zone. He's not a guy who walks a bunch of hitters with some of the best stuff in the game. And again, the scary thing about Paul Skeens is how young he is. Because if he goes back-to-back like I think he will this year, before the age of 25, he will have 2 Cy Youngs. I mean, by the time this guy hits free agency, how many Cy Young awards could he already have to his name? Crazy stuff. The only reason why I don't think Yamamoto will win the Cy Young this year is because of this guy, Paul Skeens. And I think it's going to make it hard for Yamamoto throughout his career to get a Cy Young. I think he'll get one at some point, but Paul Skeens is going to make that very difficult. So we'll go ahead and go to the MVP awards, the biggest award in the game. We'll start out with the American League. I got Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in third place. All right, I really wanted to put him higher, but I have some reasonings why I did not. But, of course, Vladimir Guerrero, only 27 years old, and he already has 183 career home runs and a career 861 OPS. As well-rounded as a hitter as there is in the game, if he can start to put the ball in the air just a little bit more, watch out, because the power numbers are going to go up. He doesn't necessarily have to buy into the launch angle stuff, and he doesn't necessarily have to start hitting, trying to, create all this lift in his swing, a launch angle, uppercut swing, because he's an elite hitter the way he is now. But the one knock on him would be that he doesn't hit a ton of fly balls, and he only hit like 23 home runs last year. But he was amazing in the playoffs, and again, only 27 years old. We may have not seen the best of Vladimir Guerrero as of yet. He probably would already have an MVP if it wasn't for that guy Shohei back in his Angel days. I really wanted to put him 1 or 2, but the only reason I couldn't is because the guy ahead of him I just don't think is going to out-hit him. He's not going to be able to out-hit this guy, and that is Aaron Judge. Yes, I don't have Aaron Judge winning the MVP this year. I think at some point someone's got to start winning the MVP over Judge and over that other guy in LA. I don't know if anyone can out-hit Judge. All right, he is the best hitter in the game without question, by far. The only thing is, does maybe turning 34 slow him down a bit? I don't know. I don't think so, but could it happen? Maybe. Since the start of 2022, he's a 204 weighted runs created plus. In second place is Shohei at 169. So there is nobody on Aaron Judge's level. The combination of power, plate discipline, and contact, there's nobody like him in the game. He's going to go down as the best hitter of this generation if he keeps this stuff up. Why I don't have him second is because of the next guy, Bobby Witt Jr. Again, I think that somebody's got to take the award from Judge at some point. He'll easily be top 5 in WAR without even having a massive offensive season because he's the best defensive shortstop in the game and he's an elite base runner. If the bat returns to what we saw in 2024, I don't necessarily believe Bobby Witt had a down season in 2025, but if the bat returns to what it was in 2024, that is going to be it's going to be hard for him not to win an MVP award. At some point, someone's got to take down Judge, and I think it's a little bit boring to just pick Judge and Shohei every year. It's going to be difficult, but Bobby Witt Jr., that is who I have winning the MVP in the American League. We'll go to the National League to wrap up the awards. In third place, I have Fernando Tatis Jr., and this thinking is a little bit similar with Bobby Witt Jr. The defense and the basing running alone is going to have him as one of the more valuable players in the game because he's elite defensively in the outfield. He can run the bases. If the offensive numbers can improve, he's going to become an MVP caliber player. And a lot of his average exit velocity numbers, hard hit numbers, his walk rate, a lot of the underlying numbers kind of showed that a jump in offensive production is capable. He's capable of that. He was a little bit unlucky last year. And I think that the offensive numbers are going to increase this year, which again is just going to have him skyrocket in terms of WAR leaderboards and all that kind of stuff. So I have him in third place. Ahead of him, in second place, Juan Soto of the Mets. One of the reasons I just have him in here, again, similar to Vladdy, is given his age and how good he's been at this point in his career. And at some point, Soto's going to have to get a MVP at some point in his career, right? Only 27 years old, already has 244 career home runs and a 948 OPS, so even better than Vladdy Jr. The best plate discipline in the game. And again, he's too good to not get an MVP in his career. Again, only 27 years old. After Judge and Shohei, this is the best hitter in the game. He's just slightly not as good as those two guys. And the reason why I don't have him winning is, yes, I'm going to go chalk Shohei Ohtani. I believe will get his 5th MVP this season. And the reasoning why is simple. There is nobody like him, and there is nobody that does what Shohei does, being a two-way player. And he won the MVP the last 2 years, okay? 2024, he won the MVP without pitching, all right? He went on and pitched in 2025 and did pretty much the same stuff offensively. So, again, it allowed him to win another MVP. Nobody was really close. This year in 2026, he's going to have even less pitching restraints on him. So he's just going to throw more innings. He's still going to put up the same offensive numbers. It's going to be almost impossible for someone to take the award from him. Not fully impossible because Soto, Tatis, there are a couple other guys. I really wanted to pick Corbin Carroll. I really wanted to put him in here, but I just think that him starting off with that hamate bone injury, that scares me a little bit that he could just get off to a slow start. So can someone take away the MVP from Ohtani? Same thing with Judge. We are in a spot in Major League Baseball right now where we have some ultra mega high elite talent with Skeens and Skubal as the two pitchers who is just, it's going to be hard for those two guys not to win the Cy Young. And then the same thing with Shohei and Judge. Judge is by far the best hitter in the game, the best power hitter, the best all-around dangerous hitter in the game who's going to put up the most eye-popping numbers. And then Shohei being the second best hitter in the game while also pitching and just being such a force. It's hard for these other guys to get the awards, but at some point, someone's got to win some other Cy Young awards. Someone's got to win MVPs. So to wrap things up with my awards in the first half of the show, in the American League, in the National League, with the rookies of the years, I got Kevin McGonigal of the Tigers, Connor Griffin of the Pirates. With the Cy Youngs, I got Garrett Crochet of the Red Sox, Paul Skeens repeating with the Pirates. And then in the MVP, I have Bobby Witt Jr. of the Royals getting his first MVP, and then Shohei Ohtani getting his fifth MVP. Now we'll go ahead and we're going to get into standings, and I'm going to give my thoughts on pretty much every team. I'm going to try to go through it pretty quick. We're going to go American League first from east to west. So we'll go from the bottom to the top, all right? The American League East. This is one of, if not the hardest division to predict, all right? Because you got 4, maybe 5 teams who are all trying to win, who expect to be in the playoffs. And you can pretty much only give out 2, maybe 3 spots. I see some people making this a 4 playoff division. I don't know if that's going to happen. So we'll start out at the bottom. Tampa Bay Rays, they're going to finish in last place. All right, I got them about 77 wins. Technically, you can never count the Rays out. But looking to always flip expiring contracts will probably get in their way of them actually contending in 2026 because, of course, they're probably going to be looking to trade Yandy Diaz. They would love to trade Shane McClanahan at some point if he could ever stay healthy. And they probably would even trade some guys in the bullpen. But, of course, the Rays are always going to Ray, and they're always going to be pretty competitive. I just have them with less talent than these other teams, and they're going to finish in 5th place. In the 4th place, all right, this was very difficult. I got the Baltimore Orioles, and I hate it. I wanted to put the Orioles higher. They did a lot of good things this offseason trying to improve. But I think ultimately they're going to just miss out. All right, I have them just missing out. I do have them as an above 500 team. I have them with about 83 wins. Nowadays, 84 to 86 is going to get you pretty close to getting in the playoffs with the extended playoffs. Like I said, I wanted to put them higher. They're going to hit. All right, they're going to have a pretty decent lineup. Taylor Ward, Pete Alonso were great additions. Those are 2 guys that could hit 30 home runs in their sleep to bring to that lineup. But they still have some injury concerns, and they're even with those guys coming in, their lineup can be a little bit thin. Right now they're dealing with some injuries. Jordan Westberg. You also have Jackson Holiday, who are going to start the year on the IL. Adley Rutschman's become a confusing player. Can he ever get back to what he was his first 2 years in the big league? They got him penciled into the 4th hole. He's been a league average hitter. Tyler O'Neill, he's extremely injury prone. Samuel Basallo, one of the top prospects, who's going to be, get DH and catcher reps this year. Kobe Mayo, who struggled at the big league level. Colton Cowser, Blaze Alexander. Like, their lineup is not as deep as I think a lot of people might think, but it has a ton of upside. They're going to hit. They will hit. They are going to hit. But what really makes a difference for me is it feels like they missed out on one more starting pitching acquisition. I really thought a Ranger Suarez, a Framber Valdez was headed their way. They brought in some great depth. Shane Baz traded from the Rays. Chris Bassett brought over from the Blue Jays in free agency. I think that what they've done is added some great depth. But I think, like I said, they kind of missed out on a little bit of a higher end ceiling rotation. And the bullpen can also be scary. At some point, Felix Bautista will come back. But Ryan Helsley, who struggled last year with the Mets, I think he's going to bounce back and be good. The bullpen can get a little bit scary. They do have some good names. And I do believe in the Orioles as an organization. But I just think with all these teams trying to compete, they don't have a higher end ceiling when it comes to their starting rotation. And I think that's what's going to keep them out of the playoffs. So we'll go to third place. The Toronto Blue Jays is who I have in third place. All right, which might be a little bit low for some people. I did want to give them their respect. I think they're still going to be a good team. I do have them in the playoffs, so yes, I have a 3-team playoff in this division. All right, but I do have them regressing a little bit. All right, 87 wins is what I think they'll be around. Again, third place in the playoffs. What I love about the Blue Jays is they've created a lot of starting pitching depth. All right, they brought back Max Scherzer. They brought in Dylan Cease. All right, obviously another guy who if he hits, Dylan Cease is as high a ceiling as you can get in baseball. Cody Ponce, one of the better pitchers over in the KBO. They brought him in. So they've created a lot of depth, even with some injuries right now going into the season. Jose Barrios, Shane Bieber, as well as Trey Savage. All those guys are going to start the year on the IL. They still have Kevin Gausman. Like I said, Dylan Cease, Eric Lauer, Cody Ponce, Max Scherzer. They have a ton of depth. I like depth in the rotation. All right, it kind of creates like it creates a lot of security. Not a lot can go wrong with this rotation. I think they're going to have a very solid rotation. Again, not necessarily the highest of ceilings with a lot of those guys. Of course, Savage and Cease have high potential and high ceilings. What my real fear with the Toronto Blue Jays is a regression with some of the guys in their offense. Okay, so we know last year they really rode a crazy offense all the way to the World Series. Really high contact, high on base lineup. But there are a few guys in the lineup that could see some regression. I don't expect them to fall off, but I just want to give some numbers. George Springer in 2024, 674 OPS, well below league average. 2025, 959. Alejandro Kirk, 678 OPS in 2024, 769 in 2025. Dalton Varsho, 700 OPS in 2024, 832 last year. Are all those guys going to return to those career best seasons? All right, and then on top of that, you have Jesus Sanchez, who got traded from the Astros. Andres Jimenez, who's going to be their full-time shortstop. Ernie Clement, who all were, not Sanchez, obviously, but those two guys, Jimenez and Clement, were key parts of their World Series run. All three of those guys are career below league average hitters in their career. So if you take a look at their lineup, you can really only pencil in Vladimir Guerrero and maybe Addison Barger as like locks to be great hitters. If you were to ask me, I like Kazuma Okamoto coming over from Japan. I think Clement is a good contact bat. Alejandro Kirk, I think, will be good. I really like Addison Barger. I think he could be a sneaky 30-homer guy this year. Vladimir Guerrero, like I said, I have him finishing in top 3 in AL MVP. But I just think there's a chance that their lineup regresses a little bit, and I think that kind of brings the win total down and doesn't allow them to win the division this year, and their bullpen is a little thin. All right, Jeff Hoffman didn't have the best season last year. I really like the Tyler Rogers signing, but after that, Louis Varland, Brandon Little, those guys have high strikeout number and capabilities, but, Braden Fisher, Tommy Nance, Mason Fluharty, what are the ceilings with those guys? But I like the Blue Jays. They'll be aggressive at the deadline if they need it. I think they'll be back in the postseason. I don't think they have a high as a ceiling as these other two teams. In second place, I have the Boston Red Sox. All right, a team that I am pretty high on this year. All right, underrated but elite starting staff with a couple of the things that they did in the offseason. All right, they brought in Ranger Suarez, which was a little bit of a shocker. Sonny Gray from the Cardinals. They also bring in Yohan Oviedo, who previously had Tommy John with the Pirates, but another guy who's got a high ceiling. Obviously, Garrett Crochet, I have him winning the Cy Young. Brian Bayo is another underrated starter, gets a lot of ground balls, good sinker ball guy. Underrated starting rotation, one of the best in baseball, I believe, but you don't necessarily hear that. When you hear the best starting staffs in baseball, you immediately think Dodgers, Mariners, Phillies, maybe even some people think the Pirates, some of those teams. I think the Red Sox are up there. I think they're going to have a great starting staff, a lot of guys that you can rely on throughout the year and to be good into the postseason. The lineup maybe feels like it could be a bat short. Obviously, they lose out on Alex Bregman going to the Cubs, but I think Roman Anthony is going to change that, and I think that he is going to make his presence felt, and I really have some big high expectations with Roman Anthony. Fun fact, I watched Roman Anthony play a lot in high school, and he's going to be a superstar. I'm not breaking any news. A lot of people think that he's going to be very good. It's not a surprise why he was the top prospect. It's not a surprise he was amazing last year in limited time in his rookie season. He is going to go right to the top of the lineup and hit leadoff, and I think that he's going to change that lineup completely, where right now you could look at it, and think it's a little bit short. Roman Anthony, Trevor Story, who was about a league average hitter last year, hitting second, Jared Duran, Wilson Contreras, Willie Abreu, but I think there's a lot of breakout candidates on this team. All right, Willie Abreu, I think the offense is going to tick up. I like Marcelo Meyer. I think he's a very athletic guy who can play a couple of positions. Again, another guy that was a top prospect for a reason. Jaron Duran, athletic, can play all over the outfield, fast, can handle the bat. And like I said, I think Roman Anthony is going to change this lineup to where they're going to have elite starting pitching. They're going to have a really solid lineup. They should be a good defensive team. Like I said, they with Marcelo Meyer. You look at that defensive outfield, it's a little funky given that they have 4 outfielders between Abreu, Cedane, Rafaela, Roman Anthony, Jaron Duran. So they're going to be rotating out with who's going to be DHing. So they have a little bit of a funky outfield, but Cedane Rafaela is pretty much between him and Pete Crow Armstrong is pretty much the best defensive center fielder in the game. Willie Abreu is elite defensively in right field. You need a good defensive right fielder in Fenway because it's a big right field. So they're going to be a great defensive team. They're very athletic. They are pretty young. That's something that could scare me. But the back end of the bullpen is also very strong between Aroldis Chapman, Garrett Whitlock. And then another thing that I like, and you're going to hear me say this about a couple different teams, the ability to address any needs at the deadline. Another reason why I like the Red Sox is that if they need to address the bullpen, if there's even a big bat available and they feel like they could add a big bat, maybe someone to DH, play first base, someone in the infield, if they have injuries and they need to address that with trades, they have the prospect capital and they have one of the deeper farm systems in the game to address any needs. That is why I also like the Red Sox. But coming in at first place, I have the New York Yankees. All right. I think that the Yankees, while I don't necessarily think they're the best team in the game, I think that the amount of superstar potential and just already proven superstars that they have on the team gives them as high a ceiling as anyone in the game. When you look at their team and you look at their lineup, obviously they have the best hitter in the game in Aaron Judge. They have Trent Grisham, who had a great season last year. Cody Bellinger, another great season last year. Ben Rice, a lot of people think Ben Rice is on the upward trajectory, even with a great season last year. Giancarlo Stanton, he's always gonna have a ton of injury concerns. He raked last year. Jazz Chisholm is the second best second baseman in the game behind Ketel Marte. I know the lineup drops off a little bit after that, but again, Jose Caballero, who's going to start the year as their shortstop. Anthony Volpe will be back at some point. Ryan McMahon, one of the best defensive third basemen. Austin Wells did have a down year last year, but there is more potential in the bat. They have a deep bench. I like the starting rotation. Max Fried, Cam Schlittler, Will Warren, Ryan Weathers, all guys that I think can definitely improve from their career norms. The young guys like Will Warren, Ryan Weathers. And another thing I like for the Yankees is a team that does tend to struggle in the second half of the season, middle of the season. They're going to get 2 guys, Garrett Cole and Carlos Rodon, back in like the first couple months of the season. That I think that could help and be perfect timing to kind of help negate any kind of mid-season struggles that they always seem to go through. But they're going to have the ability to be a great defensive team with one of the best offenses in the game. They're going to hit a lot of home runs. They're going to slug. I always feel good about them adding at the deadline. They don't necessarily have a deep farm system, but they're always very aggressive and usually tend to make trades at the deadline. And I just think they have the highest ceiling in the American League East, and that's why I have them winning the division and obviously making the playoffs. So in the AL East, I got the Yankees in first, making the playoffs, the Red Sox in second, about 89 wins, making the playoffs, and then the Toronto Blue Jays around 87 wins, making the playoffs. I hate to do it, but I got the Orioles missing out, and then I got the Rays in fifth place. We'll go to the AL Central. I'll try to keep this moving pretty quick so I don't take too long. In fifth place of the AL Central, one of the weaker divisions in the game, I got the White Sox. I wanted to put them fourth. It would have been fun. They've made a couple of interesting moves. I think they can start to see the light at the end of the rebuilding tunnel. I think they got some exciting players coming up. They got the number 1 pick this year in the draft, so they can look forward to picking Roch Cholowski. I always forget how to say his name. Roch Cholowski, the shortstop from UCLA, who should be the number 1 pick. They can look forward to taking him in the first round. They already are building up their farm system. They do have some young players to look forward to. They obviously signed Munetaka Murakami from Japan. A lot of people think he's got some real high upside. Colson Montgomery, I think he's going to be a very good player. But they don't have the pitching and the bullpen, of course, to compete. They're going to finish in last place. I wanted to put them fourth above the Twins, but I'm not going to do it. Fourth place is the Twins. Some people seem to be a little higher on the Twins, but I just don't see it. They still do have some exciting players on that roster, obviously with Byron Buxton and as well as Joe Ryan. But after that, I don't really see it. I don't really see how they can be a good team in 2026. They should continue their rebuild and continue to try to trade players that they can. Maybe try to get something for Ryan Jeffers, Trevor Larnach. I mean, ideally Buxton and Joe Ryan. I don't know if they're going to want to do that. Maybe some guys in the bullpen can put up some good numbers and they can flip those guys at the deadline. They could possibly have a quick rebuild with some of their current young players. They have Walker Jenkins is one of the best prospects in the game who will debut this year. They have Brooks Lee, a good young player that I like. Luke Keeschel as well. Matt Wallner is also always a young guy who, if he can stay healthy, he can be a great hitter. I think they could turn around their team quickly, but they got to cash in on some trades. I don't like them for 2026. I think they're going to finish in fourth place in a weak division. Third place, I hated to do it, and this is always one of the harder teams to figure out in baseball, the Cleveland Guardians. All right, they're one of those teams that you never can figure out, like, are they going to be a fourth place team? Are they going to win the division and find themselves in the American League Championship Series? You never know. Last year, they were just a mid-team all season, and they stormed their way in the second half to winning the division somehow. So, and then they ended up not even advancing after that. So, always a frustrating, confusing team, the Cleveland Guardians. But they're one of the best teams and organizations in baseball at developing pitching. They're going to have a great bullpen. They're gonna always have a very good bullpen, and they're always going to be able to pitch with starting pitching. Don't necessarily have the highest ceiling and high end talent, but they're going to have a good rotation. They're going to have a great bullpen. I usually don't doubt them to find a way to be good. I just don't love their offensive pieces this year. Steven Kwan was a below league average hitter last year. Obviously, Jose Ramirez is one of the best players in the game. But after that, I mean, they got Rhys Hoskins penciled in, who came in on a non-roster invite. Again, I told you I like Chase DeLauder to finish third in Rookie of the Year voting, but Gabriel Arias, Bo Naylor, Brian Rocchio, I don't really like the offensive ceiling there. I don't necessarily love the starting pitching, but, Tanner Bybee, Gavin Williams are guys that, you can pencil in to eat innings and be solid, and I like their bullpen. Would I be shocked if they won the division and found themselves into the playoffs? No, but just a hunch. I don't think it's going to come together this year. They were actually a team that made the playoffs last year with a bad run differential, which is very rare. So they were just very good at winning one-run games, and so I don't have them making the playoffs this year. I just have a hunch they're going to be another mid-team. In second place, a team that I do have making the playoffs, and that is the Kansas City Royals at around 85 wins, so I think they're going to be like the last team to make it into the playoffs. And looking at their roster, looking at some of their players, I like the Kansas City Royals for 2026. I told you that I have Carter Jensen finishing in second place for the Rookie of the Year, so that's another reason why I think they're going to be a good team. Two young players that I think are going to improve for them this year. Like I said, Carter Jensen's going to be great. Jack Caglione, I like him to really improve this year. Obviously, you got Bobby Witt Jr., Garcia, Vinny Pasquantino. I think those are going to be, those are three really good players to build around, especially in the infield. They should be a great defensive team. All those guys play good defense. They also have some really good defensive outfielders in Kyle Isbell. Like I said, Jensen's going to be a great defensive catcher. Isaac Collins, who they got from the Brewers, another guy who plays good defense. Michael Garcia, MVP of the WBC, by the way. He would probably be an elite defensive shortstop on another team if it wasn't for Bobby Witt Jr. And then what I really like about the Royals is their potential with their starting rotation. Cole Reagans is a guy that I flirted with picking as a Cy Young candidate this year. Michael Wacha is always a very solid pitcher, especially and as well as Seth Lugo. Chris Bubic and Noah Cameron, two really good left-handed pitchers who also had really good years last year, and they're all young. Reagans, Bubic, and Noah Cameron are all young guys who are under 29 years old, so I think there's a chance they can continue to improve and get better. And then those other two guys, Wacha and Lugo, I like in the rotation with their depth. The Royals bullpen has a chance to be a little bit scary, but they do have a lot of names in there that could also be very good. Carlo Estevez, who has struggled in spring training and his velocity is way down, so that is something to keep an eye on. But Lucas Erceg, Matt Strahm, Nick Mears, Daniel Lynch, Alex Lang all have potential to be very good relievers. They've done it in the past. So a team that I think if they can get enough offense, I think they're definitely a playoff team. They're going to be a great run prevention team with their defense and their pitching. I have Bobby Witt Jr. winning MVP. I think Michael Garcia, Vinny Pasquantino are going to continue to be great offensively. They're moving in the fence in Camden Yards, so maybe that helps their offensive production. I like the Royals making the playoffs as the final wild card team. So that means the team I have winning the division in 2026 in the American League Central is the Detroit Tigers. They are a team you will learn on this podcast as the year goes on, a team that I am extremely high on for 2026. They might be a team that I am expecting to get to the World Series in the American League. I have them with the most wins in the American League, 95 wins. Like I said, I am very high on them. And the reasons why? Tarek Skubal. They got the best pitcher in the game. They have three potential 30 home run guys in their lineup. Spencer Torkelson, Kerry Carpenter, Riley Green. Three guys that I really like offensively. I already told you I got Kevin McGonigal as my rookie of the year. I think he's going to be hitting at the top of their order, getting on base, stealing bases, playing great defense, handling the bat. In front of those three guys that I just mentioned, a great combination of proven big leaguers with young players that have a ton of potential. So you look up and down their lineup. Like I said, Kevin McGonigal, the rookie of the year. Gleyber Torres, a good veteran on-base guy. Kerry Carpenter is a proven offensive guy. Zach McKinstry, another guy who's very proven veteran who can play multiple positions. And then, like I said, all the young guys. Riley Green is only 25 years old. Spencer Torkelson, only 26 years old. Colt Keith, who I think is going to have a really solid year getting some time at third base and DH, 24 years old. Dylan Dingler, their catcher, great defensive catcher with offensive upside. Parker Meadows, if he could stay healthy, a great defensive center fielder. I really like the team. I really like the Tigers for 2026. You look at their starting rotation as well. Obviously, like I said, Tarek Skubal, a ton of depth. Framber Valdez was sneaky, one of the best moves. And like I said, a lot of flexibility, bringing in Justin Verlander, Jack Flaherty as well. Casey Mize is in the rotation. You look at their bullpen. They brought in Kenley Jansen to be the closer. I don't know if he'll stay there all year, but Will Vest, I love him. Kyle Finnegan. They have a lot of guys like Tyler Holton, Brennan Hanafy, Brent Herter, who all are kind of like can throw multiple innings. They have a lot of depth in that rotation. Even some guys who are going to come off the injured list at some point. Troy Melton, Jackson Joe, possibly. They got a ton of depth in the rotation, in the bullpen. They got a lot of flexible guys on offense, a lot of upside. I am very high on the Detroit Tigers. I think they're going to finally put it all together for a full season. Made the postseason each of the last 2 years. They were able to win the wild card round both years, but just kind of came up short. They were one run away from getting to the ALCS. I think this is the year they put it all together, make that step. They're consistent all season. put it all together for both halves, not just the first half. Again, Skubal, a lot of these guys, Torkelson, Riley Green, I think is one of the better players in the game. I think they're going to put it all together, and it's going to culminate. It's going to come together in them winning 95 games, the best record of the American League, and they're going to be a fun team to watch. So we'll go ahead and keep it moving in the AL West. This will wrap up the American League. In last place, I got the Angels. Sorry, Angels fans. It just feels like nothing can go right. Not enough pitching, and they're extremely injury-prone when you consider Jorge Soler, Mike Trout, Josh Lowe that they brought in from the Tampa Bay Rays. They just don't have enough, I think, to compete in a division that is, has a lot of solid teams. Even guys like Zach Neto are a little injury-prone. Would love to see Mike Trout fully healthy for a full season and bounce back. That would be fun. Zach Neto and Nolan Schanuel are guys that you can dream on that have a lot of potential, but they just don't have enough to compete right now. They're going to finish in last place. In the fourth place of the AL West, the Athletics, Sacramento A's, the future Vegas A's. I really wanted to put them higher. I came into this wanting to put them higher. They have a very fun position player core right now, and I think there's a chance that it gets even more fun and more exciting very quickly. But they just don't have enough pitching yet to compete. You look at their starting rotation: Luis Severino, Jeffrey Springs, Luis Morales, Aaron Savali, Jacob Lopez. Their bullpen as well. There's not a lot of guys in there. They're just not close enough yet. They're going to be giving up too many runs to compete. But like I said, their position player core could be fun and exciting very quickly. All right, Leo DeVries, one of the top prospects in the game, the shortstop they got from the Padres in the Mason Miller trade. He's going to come to the big leagues this year. I don't know that he'll come up soon enough to take them to that level that they're going to want. But the bullpen and the rotation, just too many question marks. Continue to develop the young position player core going into Vegas, and they're going to be a very good team soon, but they're just not there yet. So we'll keep it moving. Third place. This was a difficult team, one of the more difficult teams to talk about and to rank, the Houston Astros. I have them in third place, and yes, I have them missing out on the playoffs. Again, another team that obviously, we could look back at this in 2 months, May, June, and be like, man, how did I put the Astros out of the postseason? But they're, like I said, really tough team to project. Health concerns all over the roster. Yordan Alvarez the last couple of years has had a lot of health issues. Jose Altuve is almost 36 years old. Carlos Correa is almost never healthy. Christian Walker, again, 35 years old. You look at their rotation, outside of Hunter Brown, who another guy that I flirted with having as the Cy Young finalist. After that, Tatsui Imai, who they brought in from Japan, Mike Burrows, Lance McCullers, another injury guy. Christian Javier has had a lot of injuries. They have a lot of question marks after Hunter Brown. They have a lot of question marks in the rotation and a little bit in the bullpen. Not a lot of depth, and that kind of scares me. And I just don't feel great. I just feel like things could go wrong for them again. And but of course, they still have a ton of talent on that roster. They have Jeremy Pena, who had a very good year last year. Obviously, guys like Paredes and Altuve and Alvarez are still very good players, but I just feel like the lineup gets kind of short quick, and they don't have a ton of pitching depth, and that's what scares me and leads me to believe they're going to miss out on the playoffs. But you never know with the Astros. They could definitely bounce back. I wouldn't be shocked. Another reason, again, like I said with some of these other teams who I think will have the ability to add at the deadline, the Astros aren't going to really have that luxury because they don't have a great farm system. Now, the Texas Rangers, a team that is always confusing ever since they won the World Series in 2023. And I think they have a chance to be a good team this year, but I still, just like these other teams, I have them just missing out on the postseason. All right, I got them about 84 wins. I kind of have them in that same territory with the Orioles, just missing out. A very deep starting rotation that has the chance to be one of the best in baseball this year. They obviously brought in Mackenzie Gore from the Rangers, and I like that. Obviously, their rotation consists of Nathan Eovaldi, Jacob deGrom, Jack Leiter, Jacob Latz is in there as well, but they also have Kumar Rocker and a couple other guys who are in that conversation to be in the rotation. So they do have a lot of potential high-end depth at the big league at the starting rotation, but the bullpen can be very scary, and the lineup can get kind of short quick. Now, the Rangers could definitely be a postseason team this year, and I think that if the lineup comes together, I think that's going to help them and help their chances. Evan Carter, all right, the guy who is projected to be their center fielder, I think he could make or break their season because he's a guy that they've been looking for ever since that 2023 playoff World Series run. He's a guy that they've been looking to bring some stability to the middle/bottom of their lineup. He's had a lot of trouble staying healthy, but I just think in the end they're going to be a team that falls short of the playoffs. Obviously, Corey Seager is always very injury prone. You take a look at their lineup. They brought in Brandon Nimmo. I like that stability at the top of the lineup. Wyatt Langford is going to be one of the better players in the game after this year. But Jake Bird is in their 4-hole, a lot of swing and miss. Jock Peterson, he's almost 34 years old. I think he'll bounce back, but again, he was horrible last year. Josh Jung, I don't know, what do you make of Josh Jung? He's been all over the place. I think Josh Smith is a very good player. I just think that they don't have enough, and they're going to just miss out on the playoffs. I'd love to see them back in there, especially with that rotation. But the team that I have winning the division, a one-team division, playoff division in the AL West, is the Seattle Mariners, another team that I'm pretty high on, and I think they're going to be one of the best teams in the AL this year. Easily the best team in this division, and they're kind of like the easiest team who has a clean path to getting back to the playoffs and winning the division. Like I said, a lot of these other teams have a lot of things that need to go right. Starting pitching, if healthy, will remind everyone why it's one of the best in the game. Last year, the Mariners had so many great offensive players. Kyle Raleigh hitting 60 home runs. Julio Rodriguez was back to that, kind of just outside MVP caliber player. Randy Rosarena was very good for them. They had a lot of really offensive pieces. Josh Naylor, obviously, Eugenio Suarez, they traded for him. People kind of forgot that this is a team that has elite starting pitching. Like I said, Logan Gilbert, for me, is going to finish third in Cy Young. Brian Wu, 26 years old, has the potential to be elite. Luis Castillo is getting up there in age, but he's still a very good starting pitcher. George Kirby, Emerson Hancock, these are all high-end potential starters. They also have Bryce Miller, Logan Evans that are injured right now as depth at some point. I think their rotation, if healthy, is going to remind everyone why it's one of the best as a whole in the game. They got a lot of power and athleticism all over the lineup. Power and athleticism. I told you in the National League, Corbin Carroll was a guy that I wanted to put in top 3 for MVP, but I just couldn't do it. Julio Rodriguez is the guy for the American League that I wanted to put in top 3 for AL MVP, but I just couldn't put him over some of the other guys. I think he's going to continue to get better and take that next step, but the last couple of years, he's kind of gone back and forth between, is he the best center fielder in the game at a weak position where he's kind of just like a high 700s, low 800 OPS with great defense, which is very good, but that's not necessarily going to get you in the MVP conversation. So he's got to continue to improve the plate discipline and the swing decisions, and then he'll definitely be in that territory. But the deep lineup, they got guys that can hit home runs all over the place. I like the Brendan Donovan acquisition, that he'll go to the top of their order. And then I actually think at some point Colt Emerson, who's one of the top prospects in baseball, another top 10 guy, shortstop of the future for them. I think as soon as J.P. Crawford becomes a free agent next year, Colt Emerson will slide over to shortstop. I think he's going to get called up at some point, probably go over to third base for them. And then I think Brendan Donovan will go over to second base. That's going to give them a pretty good infield. Again, the ability to add at the deadline, which I like with a lot of teams. I like with the Mariners as well. They'll have the ability to add to any of their potential weaknesses, and then they're also going to have a very good bullpen. One of the better teams in the AL, and they'll be the best team in this division, and they're going to win the division. So that wraps up the AL. For me, the AL playoff picture, I got the Detroit Tigers. They'll have the best record, and they're going to be winning the AL Central. Then I have the New York Yankees with the second best record, winning their division. And then third will be the Seattle Mariners winning the AL West. Then after that, I will have the Boston Red Sox and the Toronto Blue Jays. and then followed by the Kansas City Royals. Those are the 6 teams I got making the playoffs, and those are my rankings in the AL. We'll go to the National League. I'll try to keep it moving quick. I don't want to take too long. Like I said, the last thing we'll wrap up with is Nick's power rankings. Nick's Monday power rankings, where I'll rank each team in order. So now the National League, we'll start out with the NL East, another very difficult division to predict. In last place, we got the Nationals. Sorry, Nationals. They might be the worst team in baseball. They might actually be even worse than the Rockies, which is hard to do. I think that they have to try to maybe shop C.J. Abrams, question mark. We'll see if they do that. They're kind of a team that was supposed to be on the up and up and was supposed to be like an exciting team at this point with some of their top prospects, and so far it just hasn't worked out. And they're kind of like going into another rebuild / retooling. James Wood is going to be pretty fun, but that's pretty much it. They're going to have no pitching to make them a good team. They will be in last place. They will be a 100-loss team. After that, we'll go to the Marlins. The Marlins actually have some pretty exciting players for them in 2026. They're not yet a postseason team. They're not going to have enough to get there, and especially in a good division. But Yuri Perez, Jacob Marcy, and Owen Casey, all breakout guys in 2026 for the Marlins. Yuri Perez has a chance to be a Cy Young candidate this year. He is an extremely good pitcher, and he's only about to turn 23 years old, who's got some of the best stuff in the game coming off of Tommy John. He is going to be elite next year, and I think he's going to have a breakout year. Jacob Marcy, saw him a little bit last year at the end of the year for the Marlins, saw him in the WBC. He's going to be hitting at the top of their order. I think he's going to be one of the better center fielders in the game after this year. And then Owen Casey, Canadian, got him in the Edward Cabrera trade from the Cubs, another guy who's got a really high ceiling with the bat. And I think they're going to be a young, exciting team. Hopefully Sandy and Alcantara can improve, and the Marlins can cash in on him and continue to get the farm system top tier. Not that far away from being a solid team, but they still don't have enough for full contention, especially in the National League, which is better than the American League. Third place, all right, probably the hardest team to rank in this entire video for me. The hardest team to figure out where are they going to finish, and that is the Atlanta Braves. I hate to do it, and I don't feel good about it, and I feel like it's going to come back to bite me. But I have the Atlanta Braves finishing in third place, and yes, missing out of the playoffs. About an 85-win team. Again, like I said earlier about the Rangers and the Orioles, I think they're just going to miss out of the playoffs. The hardest team to figure out for me. I hate not having them in the playoffs. What I have for the Braves is they got to pray for better injury luck, and they're already not off to a great start because guys like Sean Murphy, Ha-Sung Kim, Spencer Schwellenbach, AJ Smith-Shawver, Spencer Strider, all these guys are already starting the year on the IL, and that is gonna hurt them, and it's gonna make it difficult for them to get off to a good start. They won't start out 0-8 like they did last year, whatever that miserable start was, but it's gonna hurt them. It's not going to help their chances to get off to a great start. But at some point, of course, those guys will come back, and hopefully it's a jump start for them. Acuna and Olsen are going to be great for them again. But what's really going to determine their season is can Austin Riley, Ozzy Albies, and Michael Harris get back to what they were before 2024. All right, that will kind of determine the ceiling of this team because obviously Ronald Acuna and Matt Olson are their best players, and those are of the best players in their game and at their positions. The bullpen should be pretty good. They obviously brought in Robert Suarez to pair him with Raisel Iglesias, Aaron Bummer, Dylan Lee. Those are guys in their bullpen that I do like, but it's not necessarily the highest ceiling bullpen. Obviously, the rotation, Chris Sale, Renato Lopez, like they have a solid rotation, but again, it's just a very injury-prone team that just kind of scares me, and I just feel like a lot of things need to go their way and need to go right for them to get in the postseason this year, and it's going to be difficult, but I have a hunch that this is going to be the one team that screws me this year, and that they're going to get back into the postseason, and I would love to see it because they're a great organization and have a lot of great players. I just think that the teams above them have things that are easier for them to get in the postseason. In second place and making the playoffs, the New York Mets. Now, they have a lot of questions, and I don't feel good about putting them above the Braves. And like I said, they have a lot of questions for how does this entirely new roster pan out? They brought in a ton of new guys, got rid of a bunch of guys. No more Pete Alonso, no more Edwin Diaz, no more Jeff McNeil. There were other guys that I'm forgetting. They have a ton of new guys. They did improve, but it was in a funky way. They improved their defense, but they still have guys playing a ton of new positions. Jorge Polanco is going to be playing first base. Bo Bichette's going to be playing third base. Brett Beatty might be getting time at DH. I think there's a chance that at some point Bo Bichette just ends up being the DH and Brett Beatty plays third. They have a ton of injury-prone players like Luis Robert Jr. and Francisco Alvarez. But the pitching and the defense should be pretty good. Bringing in Freddie Peralta really helps the way the rotation works. He's going to be their ace. Followed by Nolan McLean, who I said is going to finish second in Rookie of the Year. David Peterson is another very solid pitcher. Clay Holmes, Kodai Senga, all those guys have really good potential. The bullpen, again, I don't love their bullpen, but Devin Williams, if he gets back to what he was in Milwaukee, then I love the bullpen. Luke Weaver, if he gets back to what he was in 2024. Brooks Raley, great left-handed pitcher. Tobias Myers, they have a lot of depth in their rotation, especially with a lot of young guys. And top prospects. Another thing, like I've said, of other teams, the ability to add at the deadline. If they need to add to the starting rotation, to the bullpen, if they need to go out and get a bat, they're going to have the ability to do that with their farm system. And then after that, Francisco Lindor, Juan Soto, some of the best players in the game. I think Carson Bench, a top prospect, is going to be pretty good for them. So I just think it will come together, and they will end up being a postseason team. But they do have a lot of things that they're going to have to figure out throughout this year. I got them at about 88 wins. I don't feel great about it, but I have them in second place, finishing and making the playoffs. In first place, this is pretty easy for me. I saw a lot of teams, a lot of people, and a lot of projections are kind of down on this team. The Philadelphia Phillies. I have them in first place. One of the reasons why is because it's the cleanest path to being a great team in this division, I feel. Like I said, a lot of these other teams kind of need a lot of things to go right. In the Phillies' case, they're going to have a good starting rotation, they're going to have a good bullpen, and they're going to hit. Now, the lineup, I think, will be good, but it definitely has some concerns because Bryson Stott, he's been a below-league average for pretty much his whole career. They brought in Adolis Garcia from the Rangers. He was really bad the last couple of years. Alec Boehm, who is slotted in as their cleanup hitter, who plays third base, he brings almost no pop and no power to the lineup. J.T. Realmuto has gotten a lot older. Brandon Marsh is a platoon hitter. There are holes and concerns in this lineup, but at the end of the day, Trey Turner is going to be great. Kyle Schwarber is going to mash a bunch of home runs. Bryce Harper is still a great hitter. Even with a couple of guys that I mentioned, like Adolis Garcia could get some power back, especially hitting in that hitters-friendly ballpark. Brandon Marsh is going to hit good against right-handed pitching. They're going to have two rookies on this roster who have yet to debut at the big league level, who can control the ceiling for this team. Andy Painter and Justin Crawford. Two guys who are yet to debut, but are both top prospects who have very high ceilings. Justin Crawford is supposed to be their center fielder. Andy Painter is going to be slotted into the rotation. Two guys with some high ceilings that if they hit their potential and they have good rookie seasons, take the ceiling of this Phillies from just being a solid division winner in a difficult division with some, kind of inconsistent teams. Those guys hit their potential, and that kind of takes them to the next level of a top 5 team in the league with a real World Series potential. The bullpen should definitely be improved this year. Yohan Duran, full season. Jose Alvarado back from PED suspension. Brad Keller. They're going to be a good team. The Phillies are going to be very good. We'll keep it moving to the National League Central. I got the St. Louis Cardinals in last place. All right, this one's pretty simple. They traded away a ton of guys. They're not going to be a good team in 2026, but that's okay. They got a great fan base. They don't necessarily do a lot of rebuilds throughout their history. I think it's going to do them well. They're going to get some young players in that system. They've already gotten a lot of young players. Chaim Bloom, the former Red Sox GM, has already started the rebuild in St. Louis. They could actually have a pretty quick rebuild, in my opinion, with already some of the young players that they have. Like I said, J.J. Weatherholt is going to be in the Rookie of the Year conversation. He finished third for me in my prediction, so I think he's going to be very good. A lot of young guys on this roster. Mason Wynn is maybe the best defensive shortstop in the game. Alec Burleson is a young player for them. Ivan Herrera. They got Nolan Gorman and Jordan Walker, two former top prospects who still have a lot in there. If they can continue to get some young pitching in that organization, they're going to turn it around quickly, and they're going to be a young team that is very good in the not-so-distant future. In fourth place, I got the Cincinnati Reds. I hate to do it. I like a lot of the players on the Reds, but I think it's going to be a little bit difficult for them to be a good team this year. They can weather the storm of the Hunter Green injury that just happened in spring because they have a deep rotation. But I just wish I could put them higher. I think that the teams ahead of them are just going to be better. There's a lot of holes and question marks in their lineup. You take a look at it, and Brian Hayes is one of the worst hitters in the game. Will Benson, Tyler Stevenson, what are the ceilings with those guys? Matt McLean hasn't been a good hitter since 2023. TJ Friedel is a very solid center fielder, very solid bat. Obviously, the potential of Elly De La Cruz is yet to be determined. He has the potential of best player in the game, but we're yet to see it. I like the Eugenio Suarez signing. I think he's going to hit a ton of home runs there. But again, I just think they're going to be an inconsistent lineup. The injury of Hunter Green hurts them. Their bullpen isn't necessarily going to have the greatest of ceilings. I don't know how much they're going to be able to add at the deadline. But one guy I do love, a sleeper Rookie of the Year pick, Sal Stewart. He's going to rake for them, play first base. He's going to put up some good offensive numbers. I would love to see Elly De La Cruz put it all together, so we'll see what he does. But I have them in fourth place. Third place, I have the Pittsburgh Pirates. A lot of people seem to be high on the Pittsburgh Pirates, and a lot of people seem to think that they might actually make the playoffs. That's a little too soon for me. I think they're going to be close to a 500 team, a little bit below a team that's going to be in postseason contention, but I think they're just going to miss out. Should be a fun, competitive team. The young pitching on this roster has a ton of upside. Obviously, Paul Skeens is, I think, at the end of this year, is going to have his second Cy Young, and he's going to be the best pitcher in the game. Mitch Keller, 30 years old. He's not really young anymore, but he still has a lot of potential. Braxton Ashcraft, Bubba Chandler. They have other injury-prone guys like Jared Jones, who's going to come back from the IL for this year. A lot of upside with their young pitchers. They did bring in some offensive pieces that I like, but how does it all fit together and how does it all gel together? They brought in Brandon Lau, who is not a good defensive second baseman. Brian Reynolds is not a good defensive outfielder. Ryan O'Hearn, who is really a first baseman DH, he's going to be playing right field for this team. I don't know how that's going to play out. Nick Gonzalez is going to be playing third base for them. O'Neal Cruz has had a tough time developing as a center fielder. Obviously was a former infielder. I don't know how all that's going to be, how all that's going to come together, and it's going to be they have the potential to be a defensive nightmare. But I obviously picked Paul Skeens as the Cy Young and Connor Griffin to win Rookie of the Year. So the future is there in Pittsburgh. O'Neal Cruz, the center fielder, putting it all together would do wonders for this roster, unlocking the 30-homer potential. I think he could be a good defensive center fielder. There's really no reason why he can't. He has incredible speed and an incredible strong arm. There's really no reason why he can't be a good defensive center fielder. But the bullpen and the defense and the lack of offense, I just think is what's going to keep them out of the playoffs. They're not there yet, but they're close. The next two teams I have in the postseason, and in second place, I got the Chicago Cubs. Most people seem to think the Cubs are going to win the division. The reason why I don't have them winning the division as opposed to the team that's in first, which I'll spoil now, is the Milwaukee Brewers. I just feel like they don't have as much upside as a lot of players on the Brewers. They feel like a team of a ton of solid players. I mean, you look at their roster and you look at their lineup. Michael Bush, Alex Bregman, Ian Happ, Nico Horner, Carson Kelly, Dansby Swanson, all solid players. Obviously, Bregman is a little bit better than solid. He's a very good player. And Pete Crow Armstrong has all the potential in the world. And the same thing in the rotation. They have a very solid rotation, but I need someone in that rotation to kind of take the next step as an ace. Cabrera, who they got from the Marlins, Cade Horton, the rookie from last year. One of those two guys taking the next step would do wonders for them. But again, a deep lineup with some good pop. Can Pete Crow Armstrong stay consistent all year? That's something to keep an eye at. They got a solid enough bullpen. They're going to have a strong defense. Should definitely be a postseason team. Solid lineup, great defense, solid starting pitching. I just don't think they have enough as high an upside as some other teams in baseball. And especially this team that I'm going to talk about now, the Milwaukee Brewers. Again, a lot of people seem to be kind of down on the Brewers. There's some people who are even putting the Pirates above the Brewers when it comes to winning the division. I'm not down on them. One of the best organizations in the game when it comes to develop pitching. They do need someone to take the ace mantle that Freddie Peralta left behind, but they have guys in the mix for that. Jason Mizorowski has some of the best stuff in the game. Brandon Woodruff, who has had a ton of injuries, but he's been a very good pitcher in this league. They have other guys in the mix that could take that mantle. But they're definitely going to miss out on Freddie Peralta. It's just the Brewers' way that they're always going to trade guys and look to get some players in return for expiring contracts, but it usually always works out for them in the players that they get in return. They maybe have the best bullpen in baseball. Abner Uribe is one of my favorite pitchers to watch. A great mix of veterans and young players. Obviously, you have Christian Yelich, who's still a very good hitter. They brought in Andrew Vaughn a year ago, who was great for them. Luis Rengifo, I think that he's going to be able to turn it around and be a good player for them. Obviously, the young players, who's kind of the core of this team right now, Jackson Chourio, Bryce Terang, William Contreras, those are their best players. And then obviously they also have Jason Mizorowski in the rotation. I like the upside of this team more than the Cubs, and that's why I have them higher. Again, Jackson Chourio, Bryson Terang, Wilson Contreras, Mizorowski all have like superstar, really, really elite level potential. They're going to be an elite defensive team. And again, this is the best farm system in the game. So the ability to add at the deadline is why I like them. They'll have the ability to add a starter if they need to at the deadline, if they need to add a bat, which usually they're lacking in the power potential, home run. So I think they'll be able to add some of that at the deadline. They are the team that I have winning the National League East. We will go to the NL West, the final team in baseball, the Colorado Rockies. I'll be quick with them. They will finish in last place. They will probably have the worst record in the game. It'll be them or the Nationals. Hunter Goodman, Brennan Doyle, two guys that are kind of fun on their roster to watch. After that, it's pretty much impossible for them to finish higher. Sorry, Rockies fans. Maybe they can prove me wrong, but they're going to finish in last place. We'll go to the Arizona Diamondbacks. A bit of a confusing team. That's who I have in fourth place and missing out on the postseason again this year. What's funny about the Diamondbacks is that they maybe have 3 of the best 25 players in the game, but that's it. The lineup is very top-heavy. Take a look at their lineup. The 3 players that I was referencing, Ketel Marte, Corbin Carroll, Geraldo Perdomo. Corbin Carroll is one of my favorite players in the game. I think he could get an NL MVP at some point in his career. But like I said, after those 3 guys in the lineup, Gabby Moreno, I think he's going to be a very good player as well if he can stay healthy. But, Nolan Arenado, Carlos Santana, those guys are past their prime. Jordan Lawler is going to actually be playing center field this year. He's going to be playing some outfield. Former top prospect shortstop. That's kind of interesting. Alec Thomas has never really been a great hitter. Don't have a lot of depth on the bench. And what's really going to hold his team back is the pitching. Zach Gallen, Ryan Nelson, Eduardo Rodriguez, Mike Soroka, Brandon Pfaadt, all guys who have struggled recently. Michael Soroka was actually a pretty good pitcher last year. The bullpen, there's not a lot of names in there. The only saving grace for them, for the Diamondbacks, is maybe Corbin Burns, Merrill Kelly, and Lourdes Gurriel coming back. Maybe that could help them and they could make some noise. I wanted to pick Corbin Carroll to finish top 3 in MVP, but the injury kind of bothered me. I think they're going to miss out. They're going to be a team that's going to put up some runs once again, but the pitching is going to hold them back, and they're not going to make the playoffs. The third team in this division, the team that I have finishing in third place, the San Francisco Giants. A team that, again, I wanted to put in the playoffs, but I have them just missing out. Similar to the Atlanta Braves and the Orioles and the Rangers, teams like that. I'm interested to see how Tony Vitello does in his first year in Major League Baseball. It's kind of cool how he was one of the best college managers, and now he makes the jump right over to the big league level. I think that's going to be interesting. Again, interesting team that has real potential to make the playoffs when you look at the names on this roster. I think Rafael Devers is going to be, as a full-time first base / DH, even though it's in Oracle Park, he's going to mash, and I think he's going to put up some big numbers for them. You look up and down the lineup, Matt Chapman and Willie Adames on the left side of the infield is going to be great. They're great defensive left side. They're going to hit a lot of home runs. I like the Harrison Bader signing defensively in that big outfield. He's going to be great defensively, and it also allows Jung-Hoo Lee to move over to right field, where he'll be much more comfortable as a guy who's got a great arm but doesn't grade out well defensively. They brought in Luis Arraez, one of the more polarizing hitters in the game, for some interesting reasons, because he is the best average hitter in the game and contact hitter, but he doesn't bring a lot of value in other places. So you look at their lineup, they got a lot of interesting names. They could be a fun team. They could put up some good numbers offensively. But, if Luis Arraez continues to be the player he was the last couple of years, if Willie Adames doesn't have the great offensive numbers, like if he doesn't have the great on base like he did last year, I think the lineup could be not as good as you might think. And then in the rotation in the bullpen, the depth gets zapped a little quickly. Logan Webb, Robbie Ray, Tyler Mahle are three great starters, but after that, there's not a ton of depth, and especially in their bullpen, it gets thin quick. I do think Bryce Eldred's going to be a great rookie for them, and he's going to mash and put up some good offensive numbers. But again, a team that I think just doesn't have enough in the loaded National League to make the playoffs, and I think they're going to just miss out behind this team that I have finishing in second place, the San Diego Padres. As a fan of the Dodgers, I know a lot, and I've come to know a lot about the San Diego Padres, and they're a team that didn't do a lot in the offseason, but it's so hard for me to pick against the Padres because they're always going to be a team, to me, that's going to be in the making noise, and they're going to be in the mix to be in the postseason. And again, just higher upside than the Giants, and that's why I have them making the playoffs over the Giants. Jackson Merrill getting back to his 2024 self takes this team to another level, and that kind of keeps them where they've been in the past as like one of the best perennial wild card teams right behind the Dodgers in the NL West. Like I said, I have Fernando Tatis finishing top 3. They're still a very good team. Jake Cronenworth is a good player. Manny Machado. Xander Bogaerts did a lot of good things offensively last year and kind of rebound. Gavin Sheets was a great story. Ramon Laureano. The only thing that's scary about them is, like I said, they're kind of a little bit of a sneaky older team. Like, what is Miguel Andujar going to get from you? What is Ramon Laureano, Gavin Sheets? Like, those are guys throughout their career who have had a lot of peaks and valleys. Xander Bogaerts is 33 years old and is kind of older. Manny Machado is 33. Like, what's the ceiling of this team? I think if a lot of the guys who are still great players, play like they're still great players, I think that they're going to be fine again. And one thing about the Padres, they're always going to be aggressive at the deadline. You know that. AJ Preller is always going to be ready to add and make a lot of noise. I think that's going to get harder and harder for them because that farm system has gotten weaker and weaker since they've made a ton of trades. But they probably have the best bullpen in baseball. That's going to help them. The rotation could be in a scary spot because they're not as deep as they used to be. But Joe Musgrove coming back could create a lot of stability from them. I think they're going to do enough to make the postseason. I have them around 86 wins. The last team we'll talk about is my favorite team, the Los Angeles Dodgers. I'll try to not be biased, but I think they're, of course, going to be in the playoffs. They're going to win the division. And I think they're going to have the best record in baseball. I'll be quick on them because, it's pretty simple. They're the best team in baseball. Health will be the difference for them between winning 100-plus games or just being a 90-plus win team. They got the best rotation in the game with potentially the best lineup. Obviously, you look up and down the names. It's like an all-star team when you look at their rotation and even their lineup. Obviously, the names on there, you got Shohei Ohtani, you got Yoshinobu Yamamoto, you got Blake Snell, who's going to start the year on the IL, which I don't love, but he'll be back at some point. Emmett Sheehan's a very great underrated young pitcher. Tyler Glasnow, of course. They got a ton of depth behind those guys. Obviously, the lineup, Shohei Ohtani, Kyle Tucker they brought in, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Will Smith, Max Muncy, Teoscar Hernandez, Andy Paz. It goes on and on. I think if the lineup can hit the potential, like that ceiling, if Mookie Betts can return to what he's been throughout his career, I think Kyle Tucker is going to have a great elite season for them. I think he's going to finish top 5 in MVP. And then, of course, you pair that with the Yamamoto Cy Young and all those great players around all those guys. The only thing that could hold them back is injuries. The bullpen does have some concerns, but it has all the tools to be much improved from a year ago. Obviously, they brought in Edwin Diaz. Alex Vesia is as consistent as it gets in the bullpen, but they do need to find some consistency down there. They do have a deep farm system in case of trades that need to be made in July, but I don't think that they're going to really want to make a ton of trades. It's pretty simple. If they could stay healthy, they'll be right back in the mix to potentially three-peat. Who can stop the Dodgers is the question in Major League Baseball. Who can stop the Dodgers? The only thing that's going to stop them from getting back to the postseason and being, a 100-win team to me is the injuries. So those are my thoughts on all of the standings. To wrap up in the National League, we have the Dodgers as the 1 seed winning the NL West. I actually have the Phillies as the 2 seed winning the East. And then I have the Brewers winning the Central. After that, we have the New York Mets as a wild card team. We have the Chicago Cubs, and then we have the San Diego Padres. Those are my teams in the NL, and those are my standings. Those are my thoughts on all those teams. The last thing we'll do to wrap up, I know we talked about a ton of predictions. Nick's Monday Power Rankings. This is going to be a segment that we do every week, and we update it. Whenever it's a new week, we're going to give you a new order, and we're going to get into those power rankings. Like I said, every week that'll be a segment. So these power rankings are my power rankings. So it's going to be a mix of a lot of things. Who I think is the best team. It's going to be who's hot, who has the better roster. A little bit of a mix of last year and this year, acquisitions, all that kind of stuff. Or it's my reasoning for power rankings. So at the very top, it's simple. I got the Dodgers. They're ranked as number 1 on my power rankings. Number 2, the team I said that I'm very high on this year, the Detroit Tigers. I like a lot of the pieces they have in the rotation, the bullpen. Their lineup's going to be great. I think they're going to put it all together this year. I got them as 2nd. The New York Yankees come in 3rd for me. Again, a team that's going to hit a ton of home runs. They got a great lineup. They're very deep. I like their rotation. I like a lot of pieces that could join them later on in the season. Garrett Cole, Carlos Rodon, even some young guys, maybe Carlos Legrand, sleeper. Maybe not sleeper, but potential rookie of the year coming up, throwing 103. I like the Yankees there, my 3rd team. 4th, the Philadelphia Phillies. Again, a team that's been very consistent. A team like the Yankees that's going to have a ton of pressure on them to get to a World Series at some point and win it. They still have a lot of the best players in the game on their team. Bryce Harper, Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber. I think there's a chance they take a step back this year, but I think that they're still a very good team. I got them at 4. The Brewers for me are 5 on my power rankings. I still love the Brewers. I don't think they're going to be the 98-win team they were a year ago, but I still love their team. Bryce Terang, Jackson Churio, Christian Yelich is very good. William Contreras will probably be even better this year. And, of course, Jacob Mizorowski in the rotation. The bullpen is arguably the best in the game. After the Brewers, I have the Blue Jays at 6. Again, a team that I'm a little down on this year to not be as good as they were that last year, but you got to give them the respect. They were in the World Series last year, and they added a ton in the offseason. I think they take a step back, but I still think they're a very good team. I have them at 6. Then 7, I have the Seattle Mariners. Again, one of the better teams in the American League. Deep lineup, really, really good starting rotation, great bullpen, and the ability to make trades. I have them 7th. A lot of the better teams, better players like Julio Rodriguez, Cal Raleigh. 8, I have the Chicago Cubs. Again, very solid team. They got great, solid players all up and down that roster. One of the better defensive teams in the game. If someone can kind of take that ace level, Edward Cabrera, Cade Horton, I think that they're going to battle out the Brewers for the NL Central. I got them in the 8th spot. The Red Sox 9th. I think as the season progresses, they're going to climb up higher on this list. But you can't get too ahead of them, ahead of the curb with them, because they still got to prove some things. But the rotation's going to be great. I think that the lineup's going to be even better this year, and they got a lot of flexibility and some young guys and some exciting players. And then the Padres 10, I can never get past the Padres. They're a really good team. They always give the Dodgers a good run for their money in the regular season. I got a lot of respect for them. They're going to be able to pitch. The bullpen's going to be dominant. The lineup is going to be able to put some runs. If they have some guys step up like they did last year, Gavin Sheets, Ramon Laureano, maybe even Freddie Fermin, I think they're going to be another team once again. Those are my top 10 teams in baseball. Nick's Monday Power Rankings. Again, Dodgers 1, Tigers 2, Yankees 3, Phillies 4, Brewers 5, Blue Jays 6, Mariners 7, Cubs 8, Red Sox 9, Padres 10. Preseason power rankings from me. Those are mine, and that's going to be a reoccurring segment that we do all season on Baseball Mondays, and that is going to wrap up a very long edition of Baseball Mondays. I hope you guys enjoyed my first podcast. I can't wait to do this all season. Every Monday again, you can look forward to this podcast. We're going to recap the previous week, everything that went on in baseball. I'm very good at breaking down a lot of players. I'm going to be talking about why certain teams are improving, why are they struggling, why have certain players jumped up another level, why are they struggling. That's stuff you're going to see a lot of on this podcast. I'm going to give you a lot of hot takes, opinions, predictions, all that stuff. It's going to be really fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys are as excited as I am. So, you can get this podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can follow us on all social media at Baseball Mondays Pod. I'm going to drop all that stuff in the link below, all down below, so you can get all my information. Like I said, my name is Nick. You can follow me on X at Talkin' Blue Nick. Talking Blue is my other podcast, the Dodgers podcast that I do. If you're a Dodger fan, you can go over to subscribe and listen to that podcast. And that's it. I hope you guys enjoy it, and we'll see you next Monday to talk about the first week of baseball. Thank you guys so much for listening.